We're also going to talk about process troubleshooting. So today I'm going to go over troubleshooting steps, the elements of process solving, general process solving, the applications, and some helpful hints. Then I will give you a summary and a conclusion. When you're troubleshooting, there's three main steps, and this is also used in industry in addition to our book. You're going to treat the symptom. For instance, if you're in a factory and something happens in a piece of equipment malfunctions, you want to treat the symptom immediately and give a quick patch. From there, you need to identify the cause. Your patch won't hold it forever, so you need to find a solution, and then you fix the problem. Some elements of problem solving include brainstorming. We talked about how you treat the symptom and then you identify the cause. Well, when you are identifying the cause, you brainstorm ideas. Make a general list of possibilities. When you're creating your ideas and brainstorming, use your observed data or knowledge on the equipment, but also think of the unexpected. A more detailed problem-solving strategy is to define. You need to define the problem, generate and brainstorm ideas. Then, with your team, or if you're an individual, decide on an action. Implement these actions, and then evaluate. If you're not receiving the results you want, generate some more ideas based on the results. Decide on another action. Implement these actions, and then evaluate. When you're troubleshooting, check out your primary suspects. First, identify the symptom. When you're identifying the symptom, it's not always where the cause is, so then try to find the problem. Check your input processes is typically the first step. Make sure what's entering your system is still good. There's not any problems. Make sure it's coming in at the right temperature or if it's the correct feed. Check your operating conditions and check your control valves. Many plants are automated today, so just because the plant says just because the computer says the valve is open, doesn't mean it's actually open. When you identify your unit, when you narrow it down to one unit, check your individual inputs entering that system. And then also check for malfunctioning equipment. Perform a detailed analysis. The reason this is after you narrow it down to your one unit is you want to save time. You can use rough estimates to help find where the general area of the problem could be. And then when you find that problem, you can do a detailed analysis on it. Report your diagnostics and recommendations. So you're not only going to tell where you found the problem, but you have to say how you're going to fix it. And then report your significant observations. Make note of what happened, so if it happens in the future, the problem can be solved more quickly. During this process, don't forget the unusual. Some examples of unusual situations was that your chemicals were contaminated when they were being transported, or that the storage conditions, maybe in a power outage, the temperature dropped and your chemical wasn't in the correct storage conditions. And make sure that your catalyst didn't deactivate too early. Some helpful hints: when you're working on this process, do rough calculations. Find out where the general area of the problem is, and then go to detailed calculations. This is much faster than doing detailed calculations on every single component to find out where the problem is. And this also gives a good approximation. 171 degrees is a detailed calculation versus 170. So it's still fairly close. That 1 degree Celsius may not make a difference. And then also keep in mind that just because where you're seeing the symptoms isn't where the problem actually is. It could be farther on up the line. So in summary, When you're process troubleshooting, define your problem. Make sure you know what the problem is before you try to find a solution. Generate ideas with your team. Brainstorm. Decide on an action and implement this action. Evaluate the results. If you don't receive the results you want, then start over at 2. And then at the very end, you summarize your findings and your observations for future records. And make recommendations to fix the problem. So in conclusion, when you're process troubleshooting, be sure to think of the unusual. Think of the unusual problem, but also think of an unusual solution. The normal solution may not be the most cost-effective. Look at the overall process for the problem, then narrow it down to a particular unit or component. Then perform a detailed analysis. Create a report and your recommendations and summarize for future issues.